Good morning. So yesterday I stopped at the co-op in Lloydminster and I grabbed 2 boxes of peaches. I want to do peach pie filling and just some canned peaches and a light syrup. So I've gone through the boxes and I've grabbed the ones that are much softer that will need to be dealt with today, and then I've set aside the ones that I can deal with tomorrow. I am just going to fill the right side of the sink now, and then after these have soaked for a bit, I will put them into the rinse water. I kind of just rub all of the kind of fuzzies off because I do plan to make a peach syrup with the pits and the peels, and I don't overly want the fuzz in that. So I just give it a gentle rub with my hand and it comes off beautifully, and then I put it into the rinse water. As you can see, the water is absolutely disgusting. And I did give the sink a scrub prior, and I will certainly be doing it again. The jars are all scrubbed and rinsed now, and because the peaches will be water bath canned for 25 minutes, we do not need to sterilize the jars prior. We are just allowed to fill them, and then they will go into the water bath canner as is. I obviously put my jars on the shelf clean, but I like to give them a quick scrub and rinse prior to using them. This is old school, but I was raised actually sterilizing the lids by boiling them, and that is something that I still actually do like to do. So I will just bring these to a boil, and then I put the lid on and set them aside. I find that it softens the rings and I have less seal failures this way. So years ago I learned this hack to remove the pits from Freestone peaches, and so I've obviously sterilized and cleaned very well these needle nose pliers. So you just put them in, and then you're going to grab the pit, give it a twist. Of course, it's not going to work because I'm videoing, and pop it right up. I'm going to keep these because I do plan to make a syrup with them later. And then I just like to put a little cross hatch on the bottom of the peach, so when I boil and cool, the skins will be easier to remove. Pits are all removed, and peaches are all scored. I've filled a pot with hot water, and I'm just going to bring that to a boil here. And my lids are boiling over there, so I've now shut them off. Our water has come to a boil, and over here we have an ice bath. Got a bowl of peaches here. We're going to put those into the boiling water for 2 to 3 minutes, and then plunge them into the ice bath, and the skin should peel off just beautifully. Timer is gone, so now we're going to plunge our peaches into our ice water bath. And if they've been in here long enough, the skin should peel right off. Looks like the skins are peeling off just beautifully. Super simple. This is what we want to see. peaches are just almost just at the perfect ripeness. I hit that one with a spoon, so that's not helping. Some of them are more difficult than others. Gorgeous. As you can see, all of the peaches are peeled, and I just have them sitting in a water and lemon juice solution to try and keep their color so they don't brown. And then I have my bag of skins and pits that we're going to make a syrup from later. I'm going to go ahead and make a light syrup now. So for a light syrup, it says to do 2 1/4 cups of sugar and 5 1/4 cups of water. I'm going to double that because I'm hoping to get 7 or 8 quarts of peaches. So I have my 8 1/2 cups of water already measured out. And then we will do 4 1/2 cups of sugar. And then I will get that on the stove and get it dissolved and boiling. And while that's happening, I'm going to tidy up a bit. I am just using Costco's organic cane sugar. So that is what our simple syrup solution looks like right now. I brought the simple syrup over to the stove, and I'm just going to turn it on and get it boiling. And I like to just put a lid on it because I find that it happens quicker. The syrup has come to a boil, so now we can turn off the heat. All of the sugars are dissolved. We've got our peaches here, brought the syrup over, brought our hot lids over, and our clean jars. And I kind of like to work by packing one at a time, and then I can get the liquid on top of them again to keep their color. So that's what I'm gonna go ahead and do. If you're not comfortable cutting in your hand, of course, use a cutting board. My absolute favorite paring knife comes from Superstore. I've got like 6 of these things. I love them. Sometimes a little bit of just discoloration from where the pit was sitting is inside. Not particularly, it just doesn't look nice, so I'll just take a moment to kind of cut it out. Not a big deal though, by any means. Just gently try to pack in as many as I can. There will be some shrinkage because I've done a light syrup. The Ball Canning Book recommends to do a raw pack method as opposed to a heat packing method, which is when you put the fruit into the hot syrup, and then it will lose some of its juices that way and has less chance of shrinking up. Very gently going to debubble, as I can see just a few spots that have air trapped in them. That is also what this tool is for. down, and then I'm just gonna add a touch more syrup to make sure everything is covered. And then, this is just an old tea towel. It's clean. Just gonna take a touch of vinegar here. Gently going to just make sure there's no debris and that the rim is clean. And then I am going to put on one of my hot lids and rings and set this one aside and continue. I'm not like, I wouldn't do this against my hand if I was slicing, but I'm just pressing down gently, so the chances of actually cutting myself are quite slim. Most of these peaches were beautiful and peeled absolutely incredible. A handful were overripe and not terrific, had a few bad spots to cut out, and then some were just slightly not ripe enough, and the peel was not coming off very nicely at all. But 95% of them were terrific, and it went quite quickly. Got exactly 9 quarts of peaches, so that's fantastic. So our peaches at this point are just hot, they're not boiling or anything like that. So I am just running the water to get it hot, and then I am going to put the peaches in the canner and then fill it. I don't have an actual proper base for this, so I just have this extra base that I bought from my pressure canner to put double rows, and I just set that in the bottom to keep the jars from bouncing around, and it works great. I'm obviously going to have to run 2 batches because I have, well actually I have 10 quarts. Okay, that's terrific. I might just get a second stock pot going that I can run, and then I can do them both at the same time. Anyways, I've always been taught to fill my jars just above the rim, and then as soon as they come to a boil is when you start the timer. So I have this other stock pot. It's not a canner technically, but years ago, before I even had a canner, mine was given to me, just passed down. I used to use stock pots all the time, and honestly at the time I just would put a rag at the bottom to keep the jars from bouncing around, and it works great. So instead of doing 2 batches and waiting, I'm just going to get this going and then be able to do both of them at the same time. I did end up just putting down a towel in this one because the rack was too tall, and they honestly would have just boiled, the water would have just kept boiling over and been a disaster. So I'm going to put the lids on them now. Both of them are prepped, and I'm going to turn the burners on and bring them to a boil, and once that happens we will be able to set our timers and process for 25 minutes. Managed to get the dishes done while we were waiting for the canner to come up to a boil. This canner has just come up to a boil, so I'm going to set the timer for 25 minutes. This one, as we can see, is not boiling yet. almost there. So I might have to set the timers just a few minutes apart. The timer has gone for this pot, so I'm just going to shut it off, and then we're supposed to let it sit for 5 minutes before we remove from the pot. This one is about 5 minutes behind.